All right, guys. So today we are going to do the next step for our sailing ship. So we have already worked on building the base, and along with the base of this ship right here, we've hollowed it out. Now I've left the supports in here. You'll see these supports. And then you have the deck of the ship, which I made in a previous video. It's helpful to go back and take a look at this. You'll see I've got these little tabs here. I was experimenting with something to keep the deck in. Don't worry about that right now. It's just an experiment. So your deck fits right inside the hull of your ship, and you've got a sailing vessel. I made mine with a little bit of a deck, a hole in the deck, so I can put some ballast into it if it's too light, so it can weigh down in the water more. So the next step that we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be adding a mast to that, with sails. So just to show you, I've made this precisely. If you followed my directions for making these holes in here should be about 2.5 millimeters on each side. So a square with 2.5 millimeters. If you made my earlier video, you might have made a wooden masted ship, which would include holes for that are circular holes. That would include these little dowels, these bamboo skewers that we use. It's okay to use that, but one improvement that I really like with this is that I can keep experimenting and make this in numerous quantities. If it breaks, or if I want to try something a little different, maybe add only one sail instead of two, or maybe adding all three sails so that all three sails can go in here, I could keep making more of these. All right, so really helpful to do this. So my final product will look like this that we'll make. And once again, that will fit precisely inside this ship so that you will be able to add sails to it. And I'll show you how to make the sails after that. All right, so without any further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see how this works. And I'm going to make this. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time making this just because this is not that complex. I'm going to move this right here, and I'm going to go ahead and draw this out. Now, as I start drawing this out, I want this to be 150 millimeters. Now, I chose that length just for dimensions for a couple different reasons, but it looks about what it looked like for these sailing ships from the 18th century. So I'm also going to change the width of this to be 2.15 millimeters. Now, I experimented with several different things. I tried making exactly two, but the printer head, I could install a thinner printer head on mine, but the printer head that I use doesn't do it as precisely as I want. So I'm going to make mine 2.15. Those of you using your own printers, you'll find that it might be a different number that you have. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this over here, and we're going to change the dimensions of this so that this here is going to be 2.15 as well. So 2.15 by 2.15, and then that's going to be by 150 millimeters. All right, so we have that set there. Now I'm going to make two crossbars so that we can mount our sails, and those are going to be really similar. Now, just to make things easy, I'm going to actually take this and I'm going to duplicate it. Command D duplicates it, and then I can move it over here. And then Command D duplicates it again. So I've got three different masts now, and I'll show you how I'm going to use these. This one here, I'm going to move this out of the way. And the dimensions of this, once again, are 2.5, 2.5, and 150. I'm going to click up here, and I'm going to switch this not to 150, but to 80. That's going to be my bottom cross piece. And then I can actually take this and I can rotate this. Oh, I'm rotating it the wrong way. I can rotate it this way, 90 degrees. So it's going to be 90 degrees to my original one. I'm going to put this just general right there. The other one, I'm going to make this, the dimensions of this one. Let's see if I can get that one to be centered. All right, the dimensions of this one are only going to be the same, except it's going to be 60 in this case. So just to show you how this is going to work, instead of 150, I'm going to type 60. Okay, and then this one, once again, I'm going to rotate this one again 90 degrees. Okay, 90 degrees. That'll be right on that dot. Oh, I maybe was a little short here. Let me go ahead and rotate that again. Here we go. I'm going to rotate this exactly 90 degrees. And then I'm going to move this one up to the top. Now, how far apart they are from each other is kind of a preference. You can actually do it to specific things. You can actually see the measurements of how far things are apart. I'm going to want the sail to hang down. You'll notice in mine, the one that I made, the sails hang down below, so I want to give space for that. And I'm going to go ahead and center these. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to hold down the shift, and I'm going to click on the other two. All right. And now I've got all three of them selected. Once I have all three of them selected, I can go ahead and do the alignment. I'm going to line these up, and I'm going to choose to align these right here on this center. And then that way, they're all exactly, the middle of this bar is the same as, it goes right to here. The middle of this goes here. It's all aligned nice and neatly. All right. So now, once I want this one printed, all I have to do is just export this and send it to me on an email, and I'll be able to get that for you. All right. So the next step, I'll show you how we make the sails, how we put the sails on, because that will actually make your ship sail once you apply the wind to it. It'll actually catch those sails. All right. All right, you will notice that to make our sail, we only need a few things. We need a marking tool, a coffee filter. This is going to make our sails, I found after experimenting with several things, to be able to simulate something that'll catch air, but at the same time be flexible and not be really expensive or really heavy. This coffee filter was great. So I've got my prototype right here. I have the one I'm going to show you with right here that was printed in pink filament. And then I am just going to measure off a few things. So the first thing I want to do is just cut myself a straight line with this filter. So I'm just going to take this filter, I'm going to put a ruler in this top section and draw a straight line across it right there. And then I'm just going to cut that off. Now the reason I want to give myself straight lines is because, of course, the cross beams for these masts, they're nice straight lines too, and I don't want this to be hanging over a long way. Now that doesn't need to take a whole lot of time to cut a nice straight line there, but a straight line is important. And then the second thing is I'm going to make the piece where it's going to go down, the end of the sail, so I'm going to be hot gluing this here. I want this top sail to be about this big, so it hangs a little bit above this cross beam here. So I'm just going to make a mark right here, and then I'm going to measure that, all right? Measure that, so I'm going to make a nice even measurement, and right here I can see that that's about 5.5 centimeters, or 55 millimeters between them, okay? So 55 millimeters, 5.5 millimeters right here. I'm going to make a line there, and then I'm going to come over here, and this is the measure. We always want to make sure we get good measurements. And then I'm going to make this line straight across, connecting all three dots to make sure I have a nice straight line here. Make that straight line. And now I've got myself some working canvas. This is like the canvas sails they had back in the day. So I'm going to make this nice straight line here. And now it no longer looks like a coffee filter. It looks like a very thin piece of cotton, which is perfect, right? I could iron this if I want to keep it nice and straight, or I could simply leave it like that, which I'm going to actually do. Once you have it hot glued down, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, all right? So then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to see about how far I want this piece to be, all right? So I think the top would be right there, all right? And I'm going to make a line here, and then I'm going to make a line, because this one goes, if you'll notice, this kind of goes just beyond the edge of that. So I'm going to make a little line here beyond the edge, and then I'm just going to cut this right here, just like this, just one to the other. Now, really, it would have been nicer had I actually measured that, okay, and then made a straight line, but I can cut that to make it even. So now you see I've got this nice little mast piece here, all right? And then I'm going to do a second one for down here, and I've got these pieces sitting here, so I'm going to use this piece here. I'm going to put that there, and it goes down about the length that I wanted to, so that's good, 55 millimeters. I'm going to use that same sort of mast size, but this time it's going to be just a touch bigger, because of course the bottom mast was 80 millimeters, whereas this one was only 60. So I'm just going to cut this one here. Now you might need to use more of your coffee filter, which is perfectly fine if you use more of your coffee filter. I'm going to just cut these two pieces straight here. And then I've got a mast right there for the bottom. And I can go ahead and take these and put these in place, see where I'm at with that. They are going to fit nicely. All right, so the last step that you're going to want to take to be able to make this is, I tried several different things. I used regular glue. I thought regular glue worked well, but that tacky glue kind of takes a while to dry, so you can't test it right away. Super glue, of course, has its own set of problems. But what I found works really well is hot glue. And with hot glue, you want to put one dot here, one dot here, one dot here, and then put another one down here so it holds to the mast, right at the bottom where that's going to go. And then you just push it right on here, and you can push them right into place. Same thing here. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right at the bottom of where it's going to hold. Now, if you're worried about whether or not you're going to get the spacing right, you can always take this, and I'm going to go about right here, and I can make a little dot right here, just so I can remember that's where my dot for my hot glue is going to go. And same thing down here. I want my dot for my hot glue to go right here. Once again, if you're a little bit off, it's not a big deal. So now I've got the spots that I want marked here for my hot glue here, and I'm ready to go. All right, once you have that set, hopefully you're ready to put this in place and you're ready to set sail with your Endeavor ship. All right, happy building.